wall for the theater, it becomes a lot easier to do. The total build out of the wall is 3.5 inches deep, so it gives you a lot more space to work with within the room. Being that our black levels are so deep, we're able to create what we call virtual screen masking. So when you're dealing with the projector and screen, you have to add masking systems, and you've got to wait for the masking to kick in, wait for the projector zoom and focus to kick in. Here it would be instantaneous. And with our wall, through our calibration process, we get complete uniformity across the screen. And Ken touched on this as well. With projector technology, you're dealing with 3-chip systems, so convergence becomes an issue. Another thing that he did not talk about is when dealing with projectors, sometimes you can't get it in the position you want it, and you don't have the right amount of lens shift, so you end up having to keystone the projector sometimes, and that can harm the picture performance. Another thing is projector sightline. Now you're not concerned with people getting up to go to the bathroom and casting shadows across the screen or shadow puppets on the screen. So a lot more flexibility with the LED wall. And then going into tech specs here, our wall, we designed it with a 5 gigabit signal path to allow higher bit rates at low latency. We're able to display a true 12-bit 444, which is really important for cinema. Our peak brightness is 1200 nits. For HDR content, HDR10, they actually mastered that up to 4000 nits. So this allows you to take advantage of the higher peak levels for HDR. And when you're comparing this with other brands, they tend to be limited to 8 or 10 bit, can only do 420, 422. And what happens there is they end up having to use what's called subsampling, because they don't have all the color information, so they got to go through algorithms to then make up for the difference. And their peak brightness tends to cap out at around 800 nits. So we offer a turnkey solution, so we help you through the whole process of designing the system, provide a proposal for you, documentation to prepare for the installation. In the documentation, we give you power specs, data cabling specs, how to prepare the wall as far as plywood or strong structure for the wall. Once that's in place, we take over, we do the complete installation. We go through what we call a chroma alignment calibration. And when we're on site, we're actually analyzing all the LED diodes across the screen and then balancing all the light levels and color levels. And that allows us to get a higher color space, but also eliminate a lot of the seams that you would typically see on an LED wall. And being that we have a white background, this is kind of like the tell-all if you were going to see any seams on the wall. And after that process, then we go through each individual AV source to fine-tune, whether it be Kaleidoscape, Apple TV, DirecTV cable. Each one of those will have its own color profiles, and go through a full commissioning process and help you integrate it with your control system. So Crestron, Savant, Control 4, or anything really that could do 232 or IP control. And I saved this other slide for you to talk about.
Great.
This.
What do you think so far?
Awesome.
Thank you. Since we do a lot of work in the digital cinema world, kind of review, we have to be a 12-bit 444 P3 color space. I don't think you're going to see that as you walk around. The standards in digital cinema, you're familiar with 14-foot lamparts. That's been the edict of every projector's got to be able to do that because the movies are color timed at that level. So the director and the cinematographer have this in mind when they're shooting and when it's posted, okay? And when it's color corrected. What's happening is more recently, extended dynamic range is being used primarily at Dolby Cinemas, where you have these large 4K RGB laser projectors, and those have dual heads. So that's able to handle a lot of light underneath. The new standard, HDR, the consumer space, we've been at HDR for a long time. Cinema's not catching up. So 300 nits, 86-foot lamparts, no projector or combination projectors can do that. So you have to go to either a reference monitor or a reference TV or an LED wall to do that. How does that impact us? Because we and our clients are mostly watching Blu-rays, Kaleidoscape, etc. If I had another slide here on the right, I would show you on the HDR, HDR10, HDR10 plus, we would be at HDR10 plus. This is all done at 1,000 nits. So they're shooting a movie here, color timing it here, and then it gets expanded up to 1,000 nits. Well, what the movement now is to shoot at 300 nits and color time it, or even 1,000 nits. So if they start at this much higher level, okay, that's gonna make the consumer content look a lot better. So you're gonna see over time, Blu-ray's gonna even look better. Now, how do you see 1,000 nits? You have to have an LED wall. You can't do that on a projector. So we have a treat for you. We actually have some trailers that will be coming out in the movie theaters soon.